Top 5 Wednesday once again, and this week's list is top 5 books with main characters that we hated.
Yeah, and these aren't villains. These are the characters that you're supposed to like.
First on your list, and I think the thing that popped into your head immediately, Aragon.
Oh my god. I don't like the inheritance cycle. Is that what it's called? Because
Whatever.
It's not a trilogy saga cycle. Aragon is like the epitome of just like a character who is a vehicle that you can kind of like hop in and drive around. He has a few emotions, like he gets whiny and he gets like self-entitled and he gets kind of creepy towards that elf chick. It's like, why won't you love me? It just, I didn't like him.
Yeah, like, there's nothing really special about him, to be honest.
He's the chosen one because the book needs a chosen one. Give me a reason to side with you. Freaking Murtaugh, at least he had, like, issues and, like, plans and motivation and, like, it makes sense, but Aragon is just like, I'm gonna be a hero.
Yeah.
I'm gonna marry a princess.
Which he never does. That series started out okay and then just went. Next on our list is one that also gets your goat, Peyton from Burned.
Basically, Peyton is all about, oh, you know, I want to get out from underneath my very controlling family and, like, this very, like, restrictive branch of the Church of the Latter-day Saints. And when she goes up to live with her aunt, the very first thing she does is meet a boy, and then, yep, that is how she defines her life.
And they're like, oh, this is my forever love, and we were meant to be together.
And, like, if we were separated, I would die, and blah-de-blah, blah, 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 blah. And then she gets pregnant, and then he dies, and she loses the baby, and it's just, like...
Too much.
It just, yeah, it was just very melodramatic and problematic.
It was like a soap opera, like a true soap opera complete with like cow tipping.
And then there's the next book in the series following her and it gets weirder. There are terrorists.
Yeah, and she falls in love with a guy named Angel and you're like, what?
Because, you know.
Forever love must consume you. No, it was pretty bullshit and pretty unrelatable, to be honest.
Yeah.
Next on our list is pretty much all the main characters from TTYL by Lauren Miracle because, dude, with the...
I don't think we were ever that catty when we were in high school.
They're not even catty.
Like,
they're trying to be like modern sassy and it doesn't work. They're just like, oh my god, we're gonna be grossed out because we need to talk about periods but we can't. And
they're cruel to this one girl at school. They're very like... It's a three-way toxic relationship where they all bring out the worst in one another and they don't really listen to one another or value their problems, you know? Like,
yeah, they're all kind of like very selfish. Like Angela's like fringe up Barbie and then you've got Maddie who's just a bitch to everyone.
And then you have Zoe who's like the smart academic one who kind of like discovers religion in the first book and the other two girls just like
shit on her for
it.
It's
It's just like, they're not supportive.
They're not what like teenage girls are actually like. I can't find anything relatable about them and I just hate them. Next on our list is a somewhat controversial one. I know a lot of people like her, but Mara Barrow for us from Red Queen has gotten herself into our bad graces.
I liked her in the first book.
Yes.
In the second book, she just kind of face-planted for me because she became so kind of like obsessed. She went from being like, oh, you know, feel sorry for me to being like, I'm a leader. Like she just, it was all very me, 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 me. And she's in a situation where it's a rebellion. There are a lot of people whose lives are on the line. There are a lot of people who are looking to her for strength. And she's just
running around selfish and whiny. Kind of everything is about her and she's got the worst of everything. She's like a martyr at the same time and you're like, oh my god, just stop it.
A character who's in this kind of situation, self-pity and questioning their strength and their purpose, I totally get that. But when 95% of the book is her just kind of whining at you, the reader, because you're in her headspace, when there are interesting things happening around, gets really like repetitive and boring and so what, who cares? And that was my problem with this book, because what Mara was focusing on, I was more like, so what, who cares? Maybe I'd rather spend some time with the other characters.
So Red Queen, yes. Glass Sword,
No.
no. And last, but by far not the least, is Jeff, the serial killer clone from Joffrey Gerard's series.
Jeff is very similar to Mare, where he is in a situation, like in this case, he finds out that he is a clone of Jeffrey Dahmer. His father is this wacky, crazy scientist who has ran off with a bunch of other serial killer clones and are murdering their way down the interstate. Crazy, interesting premise, delves into like government conspiracies and everything, and that's like super cool, but do you focus on that?
Nope.
Nope. Instead, you spend the majority of the book sitting in a hotel room as Jeff sits there and refuses to acknowledge the plot.
Yeah, he's just sitting there like, oh look, that guy over there is doing all the work and I'm just gonna sit here and whine.
And I mean, there's the companion novel, which is like an adult fiction novel where you kind of get more of what's going on because you're from the perspective of the other guy, but still you're in that hotel room.
And you're just getting like gratuitous violence all the time. You're like, this is too much.
The premise is definitely interesting. The execution,
terrible.
Yeah, it's another book that I have problems with.
So that was our list of main characters that we hate. And that wasn't a hard list to make, actually.
No, surprisingly. Started out difficult, but then, like, once we started talking about it, it just...
We're on a roll.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us what you think. Have you read any of these books? Do you disagree with us? I'm sure somebody out there disagrees with us.
Who are the characters you don't like? Tell us why in the comments below.
And we will see you next time, guys.